There's no reason that the music in Fallacy Quiz has to go this hard. Just listen to this. You can hear this, right? It's not muted. I saw this is reminding me of Napoleon Dynamite soundtrack a little bit. I went to the letterbox for Napoleon Dynamite today for basically no reason. Top review, 3 stars. Only thing it said, this movie feels like being in Goodwill. That's art as far as I'm concerned. I had never made the connection, but yes, watching Napoleon Dynamite does feel like being inside Goodwill. And that's coming from someone who's watched Napoleon Dynamite like 15 times and who used to work at Goodwill. So I sincerely disagree with the score. I would give Napoleon Dynamite at least a 4. However, I would also say that the review, that's facts. Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Gary Vaynerchuk be like Goodwill Hunting. I'm gonna +2 myself. I took a little inspiration from chat, but then I added the Gary Vaynerchuk element to that. You know what I'm talking about? The Price Master. Anyway, we're playing Fallacy Quiz. What's Fallacy Quiz? I think it's like a kind of a trivia game that teaches you logical fallacies. I thought it was like a smart idea for me to play this because I get accused of using fallacies from time to time just because I'm so good at winning arguments. I remember there was that clip of me playing Fortnite with Dan where I said that like I use straw men from time to time, but it's not a fallacy, it's a rhetorical technique. And people were like, I don't know if you could just say that. Well, let's learn something. Each game for 3 rounds of 5 questions, you have to identify whether or not the presented statement is fallacious. There are formal fallacies that are easy to spot because they're explicitly invalid. But don't forget, informal fallacies that seem logical but what they imply is not. The faster and more accurately you choose, the higher your score. Yeah. I'm ready. Start multiplayer? You don't want to go PvP with me in Fallacy Quiz. Now they just need to make it into a BR, man. Okay, we'll start on easy mode because it's all I can do. Ready? I'm ready. If we let them build this skate park, our neighborhood will change. Let's lay down the pros and cons and decide if we should be opposed to it or not. That's valid, man. You're valid for that, for sure. Extremely valid statement. Nothing wrong with that. There's unemployment in the youth because young people just don't want to work. That's fallacious. It could be for a number of different reasons. Them not wanting to work is just one of them. Perhaps like the most based of all of them because most people don't want to work. Whether I'm good looking or not, it's not impossible for me to find a partner. That's valid, man. It's not impossible. There's lots of busted people out there. There's someone for everybody. You may think climate change is a real problem for humankind, but I'm not sure that's important. That's okay. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. That's valid, but I disagree with you. Never mind. I thought that, how is it, whoa. How is it invalid for them to say they don't care about climate change? I'm not saying it's like a good opinion. I'm just saying, like, I thought that it passed the Greek rhetoric check in my head. It was what? Climate change cares about them? Well, of course, man. That's why it's called Mother Earth. It said why on the screen? I wasn't reading all that. People who think we should sort our trash have good arguments on the subject. I can give you some if you want. Okay, valid. That's called the appeal to please don't ask me to elaborate because then I've got to go get some sources. I've ordered twice, and twice I've received a damaged package. I'm never ordering anything again. So this is pissing me off. They gave me an achievement for being a cheater because I paused the countdown while the game was running. This seems valid to me. This is valid, man. They're not saying every package I order is going to be damaged. They're just saying, fool me once, fucking shame on you. Fool me twice, won't get fooled again. This is valid. Fuck you. What do you mean hasty generalization? Consume. Even though we sent you a damaged box 2 times in a row, keep buying that shit. What are you talking about, man? Hasty generalization. My friend didn't steal that. if that were the case, he would be a thief, but he's a good person. You don't know what's going on in your friend's head, man. That's an appeal to consequences. It's true, Kant did say that. The question is whether it's still valid today. That's begging the question. But it had question in the sentence. How could that not be begging the question? Being absent for 0 days guarantees an end-of-year bonus. He did have 1 day absent. He shouldn't have gone in the bonus. It needs to be taken back. Fallacious appeal to authority? That's denying the antecedent, bro. I'm gonna be insufferable after I platinum this game. There are no artificial ingredients in it, and that's why it's good. Fallacious. It's good in spite of not having artificial ingredients in it. You handed in your homework, but your no work is in terrible condition. I won't waste my time looking at each page. You'll get a bad grade. Fallacious. Appeal to the fallacy of division. Teach, that's the fallacy of division. They said there was a high chance of rain today, so if you don't take your umbrella, you could end up wet. That's valid as fuck, man. It's that simple. Okay, how do we do for a baseline? I thought it was pretty good. Best score, new best. This is on easy mode. Try me again. All the great movie critics love this movie, so it's weird that you don't like it. Okay, that's an appeal to authority, but I believe it. I believe that 100%. You prefer bananas. I prefer carrots. We can each have our own preferences, and that's okay. False, bananas are better than carrots. That's the appeal to beta-carotene. I have an uncle who's 83 years old and he's been smoking since he was 17. However, this is just one isolated example that doesn't allow us to draw any conclusions. That's valid, man. That's 100% valid. The only conclusion you could draw is that your uncle's built different. You haven't responded to my messages. Why are you upset? Fallacious, but very real? That's jumping to conclusions, but like... I mean, if they usually respond fast and they're not responding quick anymore... These spoiled brats dare to come lecture us? That's fallacious. That's an appeal to spite. I don't know what that is. Music's beauty isn't accessible to IDOTs because to be able to appreciate music, it's necessary to be intelligent. That's fallacious, appeal to intelligence. That's circular reasoning. It insists upon itself, man. I really prefer this candidate because I think it's a better choice. That's fallacious. You didn't give a good reason. Circular read, yeah! That was like difficulty degree 10 out of 10. Working out with only your body weight is better than working out with machines or accessories because it's less artificial. Things people actually believe, but this is an appeal to nature. Oh, I'm learning too much already. I'm so ready for Mario Party later after this. You're selling this for $10, but I wasn't willing to buy it at all. Let's split the difference. How about $5? That just doesn't make sense to me. What the sentence just doesn't make sense to me in the slightest. So I'm going to say it's fallacious. I mean, that's got to be... Whoa, you've just unlocked expert mode. You'll be asked to choose the name of the rhetorical fallacy from 4 options. I hit the fucking Octoslash, man. That's what is Cloud Stripe's limit break called? Omni Slash? I don't think it's... Wait, is it Octa... Why do I think it's Octoslash? I was writing down a crucial piece of information when I heard a noise. My pencil lead had completely broken off. I looked at the tip and there wasn't any usable graphite left. I rubbed it against the Patrick Bateman. I rubbed it against the paper, but that only made things worse. The wood from the pencil began... If you don't want to suffer the same fate, I recommend using our mechanical pencil. To me, that sounds like misleading vividness, man. Because it was so wordly that it was trying to mislead me. I don't think we should let 16-year-olds vote. Soon they'll be asking to allow 12-year-olds to vote too. That's slippery slope, bro. Can I say something? Slippery slope is one of those fallacies that is a fallacy, but also think is valid in some situations. There are a lot of slopes that are slippery, man. 100%. What's a slippery slope? Having 2 beers. Because after you have 2 beers, the barrier to entry for having a 3rd beer is lower than it's ever been. And the worst part is, the smarter you are, the more victim you are to the slippery slope non-fallacy, because you're like, that's not true. Slippery slope is a fallacy. I'll have another beer. And before you know it, you're sliding down the slope, man. That's a false equivalence. You can't fallacy my fallacy. You can't fallacy my fallacy, man. That's fallacious. Ah, la 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 la. You can't triple stamp a double stamp. There's no slope in the example you provided. Get out the Cartesian plane, and on the bottom is the x-axis is time, and then the y-axis is beers, and then make it go up, and then tell me what it looks like. Tell me if you got on the top of that with skis on, you wouldn't find yourself at the bottom pretty soon. You never join us for lunch. Why are you upset with us? That's jumping to conclusions, but it is also valid. That's valid 100%. Trust me, it hasn't rained for 3 days, so we should prepare a picnic for tomorrow. That's the hot hand fallacy. Hey, it's crazy. No wonder gambling addiction is such a scourge, man. So there's hot hand fallacy. I've been winning so much, I'm definitely going to win next time. But then there's also gambler's fallacy. It's been so long since I've won that I'm due. That's crazy. He's right. He was spitting when he said, don't get it twisted. This child stole from an elderly lady. It's only fair they're cutting off her mom's welfare benefits. That's 2 wrongs make a right, man. That's pretty messed up. This person never worked with their hands in their life, so I'm not sure why we should listen to them about how we could improve our working conditions. That's a biased generalization. That's a genetic fallacy, to be honest with you. Let's see, this one's a genetic fallacy. I gotta go to my desk real quick. I gotta load up the style guide. Genetic fallacy. In the face of theories, arguments, or facts, this one is about criticizing the origins or intentions of their sources rather than their substance. Explain it like I'm 5. Peter, explain the joke, please. I don't get it. Your interlocutor will, for example, reject the study because it comes from a particular institute without demonstrating in any way that the study itself is invalid. Yeah, but what if the institute has a history of being stupid or presenting conclusions that disagree with my worldview? That doesn't make any sense to me. In this case, ask them to ignore the source and comment on the substance. If they do not want to accuse them... This shit is the playbook, man! Holy cow! Ask them to ignore the source and comment on the substance. If they do not want to, accuse them of finding excuses and running from debate. Holy cow, man! That's the genetic fallacy. That's a powerful one, man. A survey conducted among our viewers shows that Americans agree with the conclusions of our documentary. I mean, that seems like... What? That's a generalization? They said according to our survey, man. I don't know. The survey might have said 100% of Americans agree. Their viewers? Maybe everybody's watching that shit. Maybe it's like the White Lotus season 3. I don't know. Surveys could be flawed. Appeal to ignorance. They could also be perfect. You're making excuses and running from debate. It's 9 p.m. It's time to go to bed. Why? Well, because you have to wake up early tomorrow and it's important to have enough sleep. Yeah, valid. I use that shit like every night. On my daughter and then on myself. The earth is flat and I won't accept any argument that contradicts this because it's part of a conspiracy. All these arguments are fabricated from scratch. I'm gonna say that sounds like a hasty generalization. That's an appeal to consequences. My bad. That's valid. Your what the fuck is an interlocutor? Can't we just say friend? Or is it because you called them interlocutors that you don't have any anymore? Believes in something. They will choose their positions so that none of the consequences of these would contradict what they believe in. I believe the earth is flat. If these images were real, it would mean the earth is round, so these images must be fake. In this case, you should ignore this argument and ask for a real basis to support their claims. If they persist, they probably aren't ready to question their unfounded beliefs. Damn, it's crazy how, like, whenever you identify a fallacy, the book is immediately like, you should just accept that you're smarter than your opponent and they're not ready to get on your level of enlightenment yet. That's crazy. What do you mean? I mean, okay, now the earth is round. I do need to say that, I think. April Fools. What do you mean it's too late to turn the music up? Basically, you're saying we shouldn't have fun at all. Valid. It's too late. That's a straw man. They never said that. I'm an expert at those. Remember when your spur was I have spur, your stim was I have spurs that jingle, jangle, jingle? Can we bring that back? Hang on, I'm re-downloading the song. Tank plugged the shit into the back of my spinal cord. Oh, Marianne, though we've done our share of walking, this is why I up and ran. I've got spurs that jingle. That's a great song, though, man. That is a great song. At a party, most people get less sleep than what's recommended. You could stay a bit longer with us tonight. That's an appeal to common practice, bro. Because they said most people. He broke my pen. It would only be fair to break his. That's two wrongs make a right, but it is also valid. Some fallacious statements can also be valid. That's the Code of Hammurabi. The thing is, people think that the Code of Hammurabi is not good because it's like, if a man misrepresents like the purity of his precious metals in a marketplace, they should cut off like one of his butt cheeks or something. But like, you got to remember that it shouldn't be perfectly fair, because if it was perfectly fair, then the person who started it has an advantage because they get to choose when to instigate fairness. It should be a little bit unfair to deter the person from doing bad stuff to begin with. It should be like a elevated tit for tat. Like if you both had 10,000 HP, if somebody out of nowhere used braver against you and took 1,000 HP off, your recompense should be able to be to like take off 1,750. Because then it means that they will be less likely to hit you in the first place with their limit break. That seems valid to me. Also, they got me laughing in the Discord last night. Let me see if I can find this. It was about the Code of Hammurabi. Well, you're right. An eye for an eye is not good. But if somebody fucking plucks out my eye, I should be able to pluck out their eye and also cut off 2 fingers. Because like an eye for an eye isn't fair. That dude's an asshole. It made me lose an eye. And I don't really get anything out of making him lose an eye. But if I get him worse than he got me, at least I can be like, you should see the other guy. That's an appeal to spite. Oh, you're afraid of debate. And you're running away from debate. Code of Hammurabi says if a guy sings poorly in a pavilion, he shall be run through by a motor vehicle and any earnings shall be paid to his widow in corn. That was a great message from Beppa Biba. When I saw that, I replied to that. I said, dead ass. I thought that was a great comment. I've really hit my stride this year because I think finally the community became funnier than me. It's like passive income. Now, like, you know in the movie Sunshine, they set off like the nuclear bombs, and like when enough of them go off, the sun just goes, okay, I'm up. I think that's what happened with the community, is I had some megaton jokes over the years that have come out, and they've kickstarted They bootstrapped the engine, right? And now the engine is running, and I can just get the residual heat off of that, which I appreciate. Anyway, I'm going to try again. You say that protesters shouldn't damage schools. That's real cool for all the other buildings. Thanks. I think it must be middle ground. That's a great comment, though. That's so like 20, man, maybe like 2019 Twitter. Oh man. No pain, no gain. That's a false equivalency. What? That's false equivalency. You're equating pain and gain. I could draw the algebraic expression for it. You cross out the nose on the opposite sides of the equal sign, and then all you've got is pain equals gain. That's a false equivalency. Destroying the exception. This one consists of taking a general rule or statistic and applying it systematically. You will often hear people say everyone instead of most people. Within an argument, this can lead to major errors. Providing counterexamples and exceptions will help you question this hasty generalization. Okay, so I should have been like, actually, there's situations where people have gained without pain, like gaining weight on vacation. While turning down their plate of spinach, I know it's healthy, but I don't like it. That's valid. That's a very valid statement. This NGO does really useful work for society. Their director must be a good person. That's a fallacy of division, because the fucking whole isn't the sum of its parts or whatever. This consists in claiming that a part of something possesses a property just because the whole thing does. For example, this metal airplane flies, so metal can fly. But metal can fly. You just have to mold it into the shape of an airplane. Am I stupid or too smart for this game? I can't figure it out. Metal can fly. You just turn it into an airplane. This doesn't make... Your interlocutor must demonstrate that a property of the whole remains valid for one of its parts. They cannot just assert it. They're destroying the exception by saying that all metal can't fly, man. What about airplanes? You're running from debate. Look, they have a full building with a lobby and a receptionist like a big successful company. They must be a serious business. The business is a fallacy of division because the business is not necessarily, it doesn't maintain the same. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you. It's 9 p.m. It's time to go to bed. Why? Well, because 9 p.m. is bedtime. That's circular reasoning. That's a given. I don't agree with the big movie critics. I like this movie. It was a good time. That's valid. That's me with Crank 2 High Voltage, man. Okay, now a lot of people are saying, that's my parents, that's my parents. I'm here to tell you, the one thing that you think, because I went through this twice. Once when I had a kid and once when I started teaching kids in South Korea. You start with high-minded, noble ideals. Where you're like, my parents would sometimes say, because I said so, when they wanted me to do something, and it would really piss me off. So what I'm gonna do instead is just calmly and logically explain to any children in my life the incentives for doing the behavior that I want them to do. And I'm gonna use rhetoric to get us both on the same page, and then they'll agree with me, and my case will be so convincing that they'll just naturally wanna do what I'm telling them to do in the first place. It simply does not work like that, and you're stupid if you think it does. I use because I said so all the time. Because if you don't, you just get mired in this like debate that just goes around and around and around. You start by explaining it. It's bedtime. Why? because this is the night we always go to bed. Okay, that's circular reasoning. Okay, because you need to go to sleep now so that you can wake up in the morning. That's destroying the exception. There's times where I haven't gotten a whole lot of sleep and I've woken up and still felt great. Well, because I said so, because I had never played this game before. I had these arguments, you know? So sometimes you just gotta be like, no, we're doing this. We're going to bed. You're going to the potty right now. Oh, you want to know if this car is old? Well, actually, the transmission has just been changed. That's a red herring. That's Chekhov's transmission. I was munching on some roasted salted almonds. Then I popped one into my mouth that had this weird, horrible, bitter taste that made me want to spit it out. It was gross. That's why almonds are the worst nuts. That's valid. That's valid, man. That's a true statement. I shouldn't say it's a true statement because I like almonds, but if someone was like, I might literally say in response to that message, that's valid. That's valid. It's a generalization? No, it's not. They implied that because every once in a while you get a bad almond, almonds are the worst nuts to eat. I think that's valid. Not all nuts are the same. Even on the same cock, you're not wrong about that. But the thing is, sure, the next almond could be the best almond they've ever had. But if there was like a 10% chance of every almond, if you rolled a D10, and it was like a 1 in 10 chance that it was going to taste like vomit, I would be like, I don't want to eat almonds. Almonds are my least favorite nut to eat. They didn't make a claim, they just told a story. That's why I'm saying it's valid, because if I'm telling someone a story and they hit me with my story having a logical fallacy, I'm like, guess who's not getting another story, dude? Like, they weren't making a statement, or they weren't trying to make a case, they were just trying to get someone to empathize with them. They were just making conversation. They sent reports about bugs in the game, but they are neither beta testers nor quality assurance testers, so I don't care. That's the genetic fallacy. You're ascribing validity of an argument based on its source rather than based on the quality of its argument. Oh, you are attempting to run from debate and discussion. These glasses were offered for an extra $1 on top of your other glasses, so they must be really bad quality. Don't put them on. That's jumping to conclusions. Okay, I know that it was about money and there was an appeal to money option in there, but that's jumping to conclusions, isn't it? You see one piece of data that says, like, these might be bad, and you jump to conclusions. Companies frequently make profits. Therefore, the purpose of a company is to make profits. That's affirming the consequent. I don't know what that means, though. Let's see what affirming the consequent means. We're learning a lot about how to be annoying today, man. We have a cause that is known to imply a consequence. I missed my bus, so I'm late. Okay, I missed my bus, so I'm late. But if you don't pay attention, you can be made to believe that the cause happened just by mentioning the consequence. Even though that isn't necessarily the case. Oh, I use this all the time. This is not a fallacy, it works. You just say, sorry, I'm late, and then people know that you have a kid, and they assume that your kid is the reason you're late, even though you didn't say that. It's not a fallacy, it works, man, it's valid. If he misses the bus, then he's late. He's late, therefore he missed his bus. This is one of the possibilities, yes, but you cannot just deduce that. But that's why it's valid, because you can't ask why someone is late. That's, for some reason, at least in my culture, that's considered like a very personal question. You're just supposed to tank the psychic damage from them being late. I climbed to the top of this mountain all by myself. You can do it too. It was great. The guides were really nice with me. That's a generalization. You might be built different. What? Lie? How could I possibly know that that's a lie? I wasn't there. It's a made up story. The whole thing is a lie. It's all made up. Oh, because he said he was alone, but he said the guides were nice. Oh. I don't have a critical mind. I'm too trusting. This is the consequence of like never really listening, just waiting your turn to talk. Just look at who follows this guy on their social networks. Just from that, I know that no one should talk to them. That's guilty by association, but it's also valid, for sure. Like when you, in the old days of Twitter, when I still used it, when you would see like some insane, horrible take and then click on it and see which other YouTube Let's Players from the last 15 years you've ever interacted with happen to follow that individual. And then like what, you see it once and you're like, anything can happen, I understand. 8 years ago, you were mutuals for some reason. Maybe you don't keep up with it. But then when you see like their profile picture comes up 2 or 3 times you've done that, and you're like, okay, I didn't know. You won't give this cute family-run restaurant a single star? Even if you really hated it, you could give them a better rating. That's an appeal to pity, but I also believe that that's valid. In my worldview, satisfactory meal, 5-star Google review. Anything else but being poisoned or insulted, no Google review. Poisoned or insulted, 1-star Google review. And maybe this is an appeal to this, maybe this is destroying the exception, okay? But you should also have about 98% 5-star reviews, 2% 1-star reviews, in my opinion. If you had a 50-50 split between 1s and 5s, I think that you're probably the problem. Most situations should be passable, aka you're morally obligated to give them a perfect rating. I'm someone who pays what I owe. No worries. I'll be able to pay you back tomorrow for sure. Appeal to consequences. Because if I didn't pay you back, I wouldn't be what I said I was. What? The brain consists only of cells, and these cells lack unique features that could account for consciousness. Therefore, we must include that consciousness originates from beyond our physical realm. It's evidence for the existence of the soul. By fallacy of composition. An individual cell doesn't need to be conscious in order to create a whole that's conscious. Fuck you. I've beaten you in the marketplace of ideas. You were saying that women have always been paid less than men and conclude that we should continue doing so? You're making an appeal to tradition, which means that you are wrong. Hey, whoa, hang on here, hang on. That's a fallacy, but I also think that you blew them out, so... Just everybody relax, okay? They didn't give me valid as an option. During an interview after a smear campaign. Hi, given everything we know now, would you say that you are a racist person? That seems like a bit of a loaded question, I'd say, personally. Okay, but it was Kant himself who said that, appeal to authority. Kant also died by holding in his piss, I think. Or maybe that was Tycho Brahe, whatever. One of them, like, married a donkey or something, I think. Or their cousin. Maybe both of them. They appointed a new minister. At last, the situation will improve. That's an appeal to novelty, people. And you guys are the biggest victims of the appeal to novelty fallacy. And I mean Twitch chat as a whole. You might think that you're perfect and never engage in cognitive dissonance, but every one of you has fallen victim to this fallacy. Because it's always like, yeah, game is pretty good. What would I prefer to game? Different game? Different game would go crazy right now. I mean, game is good, don't get me wrong. We all love game. Game has proven itself to be timeless entertainment. It's evergreen, it's always fun. But new game, different game could be anything. It could even be as good as game, man. That being said, different game would hit pretty hard when being bored is the vibe. I can't disagree with that. This is too long. I used to answer all your messages in minutes, now I can take days or weeks, but you're making such a big deal out of it. I swear absolutely nothing has changed in our relationship. Or it may be that you are getting possessive. That's an appeal to motive. Oh, it's an appeal to spite. It was a lie! How was it a lie? Clearly something changed, but how could I know? How could I know that? All I know is what they told me. If raw materials increase in price, then the product's price must also go up. That's false. You're affirming the consequent or denying the antecedent. You're denying the antecedent. There's other reasons it could go up. Demand for chocolate cake could be through the roof because people have low blood sugar. Fuck you, bitch! It's the same thing! Affirming the consequent and denying the antecedent are the same thing! Fuck you. I was telling that housing all the homeless people would be at the expense of taxpayers, but you convinced me it might end up being positive for everyone. However, you didn't prove me that it would be the most That's a perfect solution fallacy. What the fuck? Dude. Moving the goalposts has really got me thinking about how sick the NFL would be if for the extra point, they put the uprights on like a moving pole that made it go like back and forth like this. Not for field goals, because like that's already pretty hard. But for extra points, that would be sort of sick, man, if they did that. That would be cool. The other team gets to push it around. That shit is like, that would become impossible, I think. Hang on, I'm going to go try multiplayer because I think we're kind of reaching the end of... I basically am saying I've learned about all the fallacies I'm thinking. Let's just see if this puts my IP address on this. Oh, it's only local multiplayer. Can you imagine? Hey, come on over. I got some new games to play. Oh, all right. Well, you better not. Your horny ass better not put on Fallacy Quiz again. Oh, it crashed. All right. Well, slash marker. We'll call that Fallacy 2. I'm going to go pee. We'll play something else before we play Mario Party at noon. See you in a minute.